Warning: what you are about to watch contains disturbing content. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This is Ruggero Deodato. He's sitting in a courtroom, not as a witness but as a defendant, charged with murder. The film he made was so realistic that the Italian government believed actual people had been killed on screen. His actors had to appear before a judge alive, just to prove he hadn't murdered them. This is a film banned in over 50 countries, seized by police the same week it premiered. A film so controversial that even today, nearly 45 years later, streaming platforms still debate whether it should exist, and yet, it predicted fake news viral outrage. It also predicted the way we consume other people's suffering for entertainment. This is the crazy story of Cannibal Holocaust. To understand this film, you first have to understand what was happening in Italy in the late 1970s. The country was in chaos. The Red Brigades, a far-left terrorist group, were bombing buildings, kidnapping politicians, and executing people in the streets. In 1978, they murdered former Prime Minister Aldo Moro and left his body in a car trunk. Italy was terrified, and every night the news cameras were right there, sometimes arriving before the police, sometimes, allegedly, staging angles, lingering on bodies, replaying the worst moments over and over. Ruggero Deodato watched this and felt something close to rage. He had already made jungle films. He understood exploitation cinema. But what he saw in the news wasn't so different from what he was accused of making. Cameras pointed at suffering, audiences watching, nobody asking why. He decided to make that hypocrisy into a film. The concept was simple and brutal. A documentary crew ventures into the Amazon to film indigenous tribes. They exploit them, brutalize them, stage atrocities for dramatic footage, and then the tribes fight back and win. The twist that made it revolutionary: the audience only sees this through recovered footage, found reels from a doomed expedition, a story told entirely through the evidence left behind. This was 1979. Found footage didn't exist yet. Deodato invented it. Deodato brought in screenwriter Gianfranco Clerisai, a longtime collaborator. Together they shaped what was originally called I Figli della Luna, the Children of the Moon, into something far sharper and more dangerous. The budget was $100,000, almost nothing. For the central role of Harold Monroe, an anthropologist sent to retrieve the lost footage, they cast Robert Kerman, an American actor with an unconventional background. Kerman brought a grounded, weary quality to the role, but he clashed with Deodato constantly, particularly over the animal scenes. He walked off set more than once. The actors playing the doomed film crew were largely inexperienced. Francesca Saiadi, who played the script girl Faye, was unpaid for much of the production and grew increasingly distressed on set. Perry Perkinan, cast as Jack Anders, broke down crying after filming one particularly graphic sequence involving an animal. He had not been prepared for what the shoot would actually require. These were not hardened professionals. They were ordinary people being pushed into extraordinary and genuinely disturbing circumstances. Rumors later emerged about contracts forbidding the cast from making public appearances after the film's release, designed, some believed, to deepen the illusion that they hadn't survived the production. The actors denied it, but the secrecy fed the myth. Filming moved to the Colombian Amazon. Near the town of Leticia, the heat was punishing. The terrain was dangerous, and unlike a studio production, the discomfort was not managed, it was used. Local indigenous people from the Yanomami and Shamatari tribes were recruited as extras. This is one of the film's most lasting ethical wounds. They were placed in hazardous scenes. They were paid poorly, if at all. They were depicted on screen in ways that reinforced brutal stereotypes, portrayed as endo-cannibalistic, locked in savage warfare, representations that had no grounding in reality, and that indigenous advocates have condemned ever since. The most controversial decision of the entire production was the killing of animals on camera. 7 animals died during filming. A turtle was decapitated and dismembered in an extended sequence. A coati was impaled. A boa constrictor was cut open. 2 squirrel monkeys were beheaded, filmed twice, from different angles, so Deodato would have options in the edit. Kerman walked off set. Perkinan wept. Saiadi refused to watch. Deodato pushed forward. He believed the death served the film's message that humanity's cruelty is universal, not confined to any jungle. He later called the decision stupid, a regret he has repeated in interviews for decades. But at the time, he kept the cameras rolling. The jungle interiors were shot on location. Studio sequences were filmed in Rome. The grain, the shakiness, the imperfect framing, all of it was deliberate. Deodato wanted the footage to feel like it had been found, like it was real. He succeeded beyond anything he imagined. The film premiered in Italy on February 7, 1980. In its first 10 days, it made $2 million. For a $100,000 production, that was staggering. It should have been a triumph. Instead, within weeks, Deodato was arrested. A French magazine had published a piece claiming the film contained actual murders. Italian prosecutors looked at the footage and agreed it was possible. The special effects, fake impalements, graphic wounds were convincing enough that investigators could not immediately rule out that real people had died on screen. Deodato, Clarissi, and the producers were charged with obscenity. Deodato additionally faced the possibility of murder charges. The trial in Milan became a spectacle. Prosecutors demanded proof of life. One by one, the actors appeared in court. Kerman Sayedi, Barbersky. They demonstrated the prosthetics. They explained the effects. They proved, definitively, that nobody had been killed. The murder charges collapsed, but the obscenity charges stuck. All four received 4-month suspended sentences. The Italian ban remained in place for years, lifted partially in 1982, and fully only in 1984. After Deodato fought it through the courts, he had made a film critiquing the media's exploitation of suffering, and the media's response was to put him on trial. The ban spread fast. In the UK, Cannibal Holocaust became one of the most notorious entries on the so-called Video Nasty List, a moral panic over home video content that led to dozens of films being prosecuted under obscenity laws. The film was banned outright until 2001, and even then released with nearly 6 minutes removed. Australia held its ban until 2005, New Zealand until 2006, Norway, Finland, Iceland, Singapore, South Africa, over 50 countries at its peak refused to allow it. The reasons varied by country, but clustered around the same concerns: extreme sexual violence, graphic brutality, and above all, the real animal killings, which violated animal cruelty laws in jurisdictions that had no framework for prosecuting a foreign film. In the United States, it arrived in 1985 with an X rating. Animal rights groups protested. Indigenous advocacy organizations condemned the portrayal of Amazonian tribes as racist and exploitative. The Italian cannibal genre, which had been building through the late 1970s, began its rapid decline. Cannibal Holocaust had been its peak, and its destruction. Bootleg copies circulated through the 1980s and 1990s, building a devoted underground following. People sought it out precisely because it was forbidden. Because it was supposed to be unwatchable. Despite everything, or maybe because of everything, the film endured. It grossed an estimated $21 million in Japan alone, reportedly finishing second only to E.T. in that market that year. Its found footage technique became one of the most influential formal innovations in horror history. The Blair Witch Project, REC, Cloverfield, Paranormal Activity, all of them owe something to what Deodato built in the Colombian jungle with a $100,000 budget and a cast that didn't fully understand what they were making. The film's soundtrack, composed by Riz Ortolani, became a strange cultural artifact of its own, hauntingly beautiful against the brutality of the images. It surfaced in the HBO series Euphoria in 2022, introducing it to an entirely new generation. But the legacy that matters most is the question Deodato was actually asking. In 2026, we live inside a media environment that produces exactly what he was warning about. Graphic footage of real suffering shared for engagement. Viral videos of violence that we watch, share, argue about, and forget within a week. Documentaries that exploit their subjects. Journalists who need the story to be worse than it is. So who are the cannibals? Deodato's answer then and now was never the people in the jungle. It was the people holding the cameras, and the people watching from home, which, at least some of the time, is us.